What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is the 5th part of a story where Issei was betrayed and left. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations and supporting the amazing author Skinny40k for writing this story. Now, let's get into part 5. Issei let out a sigh, realizing that so far everything he had planned was going exactly how he hoped it would. He would have the meeting with the other leaders and everyone else present, go over what he learned, and explain his plan to counter the Cows Brigade, along with determining the secret organization within it that he believes is really pulling the strings and what their true motives are. It was then that he looked across the room and saw that he was surrounded by those who loved him. He then noticed Volley's expression and immediately knew something bad was going to happen, or more accurately, to someone. It was then that Drake broke him out of his thoughts, confirming what he feared and what Albion had told Volley as well. Drake, mentally. Brother, she's here. That's when the atmosphere in the room became heavy and a monotone and all too familiar voice was heard grabbing everyone's attention. Office. Hello everyone. With snarl and venom in his voice, Issei spoke. Office. This caused everyone to be on edge, while all the leaders were surprised and their eyes widened. Volley, along with Biku and Arthur, got into a battle stance and got ready to fight, while all of Issei's mates immediately ran behind him, as did Lefei, Kurara, her mother Magari, Sona, and all of her peerage. Surziches was one of the leaders in the room to recompose themselves and ask a question they all wanted to know. Surziches, in a very serious tone. Why are you here, Office? Upon hearing the question, Office never looked toward Surziches and only kept her gaze on Issei, who was snarling and showing his fangs at her while in a protective stance. Office. Well, I came to see the strength of Drake's new host for myself, and I must say I'm quite impressed. I would ask you to join me, but I can see that won't happen. Mainly, I'm here to collect my team and take them back with me. Issei was snapped out of his thoughts when he felt Kuroka shaking and sensed her fear. That was when he noticed Ravel, Lefei, Ingvald and Leisha were all holding him, shaking in fear as well. Wanting to calm and reassure his girls, and still having all 9 red foxtails out, he decided to use his tails to wrap them around all the girls, immediately reassuring them and giving them comfort. He then felt they were no longer shaking, and could tell they felt safe and secure now. It was then that his brother asked him a question. Drake, mentally. Brother, what are you planning to do? You know this is going to end up in a fight, right? Issei, mentally. Yeah, I'm aware, but I'm not that concerned about that. Not since we talked about this as a possibility, made a plan to deal with it, and thanks to that planning, along with your and son Wukong's help with training and perfecting the move, and the new magic I learned for just this occasion, I'm confident it will work. However, I will say the only issue is making sure I can end it fast, because there's no way I can win a prolonged fight with her, not at the level of power I'm at currently, at least not yet. But I've learned from my fight with Dracula, and this time I have full mastery of the 6th seal. If that's not enough, I can undo the 7th if needed. Really, my main issue is making sure I can take the fight outside fast, so I don't risk any of my loved ones here from becoming collateral damage of our fight, no matter how short it may be. I won't let anyone I love be hurt. But more importantly, I'm also just angry at how this lowly dragon is terrifying my mates and wants to take one of them from me and my other friends. Greg, mentally. I see. Well, what are you going to do about it then? Issei, mentally. Easy, I'm going to show this dragon lowly why I'm the dragon of domination. Greg, mentally. Hahaha, I expected nothing less from you. Now go show her why you're the dragon of domination. Issei then came out from his thoughts as he saw Volley ready to charge at her. He then put his hand up to Volley, causing him to stand down as he walked up towards Office and spoke in a cocky and condescending tone to the dragon god. Issei. Hahaha. Opus turned her head slightly as she saw Issei walk up to her and laugh, making her ask what was so funny. Office. What is so funny, host of Drag? As soon as she asked that, Issei stopped walking and was now only 3 feet from the dragon god as he spoke. Issei. Well, I don't know what's funnier. The fact that you came here thinking I would join you, or that I would let that threat of yours slide to take Volley and his team back with you. Moreover, considering I see Volley, Biku and Arthur as brothers, and I won't allow you to take my little Lefei from me. She's too adorable and precious for me to lose. Upon hearing that, Lefei blushes madly and pulls her hat down to cover her face, while Issei turned his head to see that. As he turned back to face Office, he continued. And like hell am I about to let you take my mate Kuroka without a fight. Office. Is that so? Who is going to stop me? There's no one in this room strong enough to oppose me, not even you, host of Drag. Issei. Of course, it's going to be me because I know I can not only oppose you, but I can beat you. Secondly, I promised them protection and I've given them my word. Along with them now being under the jurisdiction of the Yokai faction, and me being the new lord of the Yokai, I'm the one that has a say on what happens with them. They left your organization for a reason because they're not blind and know that there's somebody else pulling the strings behind the organization you formed. They knew they were being used and could be easily disposable once they no longer prove their usefulness, just like you could, or even worse, be used for other purposes. But for an ancient dragon such as yourself, you sure are blind not to realize that. You don't even realize it, and what, all to get rid of the Great Red who's minding his own business in a big empty void that you could easily share with him. You definitely fit the part with that lowly look you took on, because you definitely act like a small and petulant child having a tantrum because they aren't getting their way. The office looked a little frustrated and annoyed by what Issei said. It wasn't very visible on her face, but the fact that she started to release her oppressive dragon aura made it evident. The office. Is that so, host of? Issei cut her off immediately as he spoke. Issei. I have to stop you right there. There is no longer a host of Drag, there is just me. He is no longer separate from me, as I am no longer separate from him. Our souls are one. To put it into a language you can understand with that lowly brain of yours, I am the red dragon of domination now. Because it is I who has risen to walk down a new path, from a servant to the Lord of the Nine Tails, it is I who stole the principle of domination from God. To the Queen and Princess, my allegiance lies. I admire the dream and laugh at the infinite. I am the heavenly Yokai dragon of domination, and if you get in my way or hurt those I love and cherish, there will be nothing that will stop me from drowning you in my emerald crimson flames of purgatory. The office. I see. Well, it will not stop me. I will give you one last chance to stay out of my way and let me take my team back with me. If not, I will have to kill you. I will not let anyone or anything get in the way of achieving my goal of silence and returning back to my home in the dimensional gap. That's when Issei could feel Office trying to force its dominance over him by letting out its aura. Issei looked around and saw everyone else in the room was terrified and feeling the pressure. In return, he got angry. Instead of showing it, he took a different approach and decided to show some of his strength. With a cocky and smug grin, he spoke. Issei. Oh, I'm fully aware that I might be getting in your way, and that's the plan. I don't know if you know this, but you are part of a terrorist organization that I promised to destroy, and I will not allow you to take my friends, one of whom was my mate. If you intend to take them, understand you have to go through me. That's when his power began radiating. He was then quickly engulfed in a blinding red light, which soon completely disappeared, showing him in his powerful heavenly king form. Now, Ouroboros, if you wish to continue upon this path, understand I stand in your way. So, depending on the choice you make next, it will decide what actions I need to take, so what will it be? Upon Issei finishing his statement, everyone in the room was feeling nervous. They saw Office and Issei having a standoff with auras radiating from each other. Everyone else was afraid of the infinite dragon god's power they could all feel. Issei was not backing down. She understood Issei wasn't going to back down and decided to kill him if he was foolish enough to get in her way. Office. Very well then, you have made your choice. It's a shame. I could imagine you would be able to help me attain my silence, but oh well. Office put up her to create a ball of energy to kill Issei, but before Office could, she saw Issei move at an incredible speed. So fast that she wasn't able to react in time. Due to the distance between them, Issei closed the gap so fast that Office was surprised and caught off guard. She was only able to process what was happening in slow motion, but unable to do anything to stop it. The thing that upset her the most was that she was watching everything in slow motion in her own mind. She saw the cocky grin of Issei as she saw his fist being reeled back, then thrust forward, engulfed in green fire. Issei sent an uppercut, hitting her side and sending her through every floor of the Leviathan mansion, and even through the roof. The force was so strong that it caused a sonic boom after breaking the sound barrier with the force Issei used to strike Office, launching her upwards and causing a massive swirl of wind and dust through the whole room. Issei immediately went chasing after Office through the hole she made after being sent flying. Soon after, everyone could feel the shockwaves from inside the room and even throughout the underworld. From the clashing of power between Office and Issei, it took a bit for everyone to understand what just happened. The first ones to say anything were Laisha, Ravel, LaFay, and Ingvald. Girls. Issei, hide, you reckless idiot, you better hope Office kills you, because if she doesn't we will. Hiroka. If you survive all this, my dragon fox, I will definitely lock you in a room with me tonight and I will have you all to myself. We won't leave that room until I know for a fact that I'm pregnant with kittens from you. You brave suicidal idiot. Then all 5 girls ran out of the room to head outside to watch the fight. Harara. Well, he might be a dead man whether he wins or loses, he. So Vali, would you like to accompany me to follow the girls and see how this plays out? And if you're a good boy, I might even give you some tips on how to get as strong as him. After all, I did help train him. After that, Karara started to walk out and also headed outside. She was purposely swinging her hips back and forth in front of him as she then left the room. Albion, mentally. Well, Volley, I think we finally met your female counterpart, haha. If I were you, I would follow after her. Volley heard what Albion said, and usually he would be a little annoyed by his comment, but he had to agree with him. Even he had to admit he liked watching her walk away while she was swinging her hips back and forth. He had to give her credit, if she helped train Haidu to get stronger, she must be strong. Soon, without saying a word, with an uncharacteristic smile on his face, he followed after Karara. Iku. Well, it looks like Volley might have found somebody more cocky and arrogant than him. I never knew that was even possible. But we live in strange times of late. Speaking of that, so your sister, huh? When is the wedding, and is he going to be calling you brother-in-law soon? Arthur, with a visible tick mark on his forehead, spoke in a frustrated and annoyed tone. Shut up, Biku. Now let's go and follow them. If that idiot doesn't get killed, he and I need to talk about how I expect him to treat my sister. After hearing how frustrated and annoyed Arthur was at the situation, Biku only had that wide smile as he had his power pole behind his back while walking with Arthur to head outside to watch the fight. While this was going on, a certain intelligent and very calculative devil was in her own thoughts, processing all the information she had just learned and heard. Sona looked in complete bewilderment as she observed those who were still in the room. She saw the same look she had mirrored on the leader's face in her own peerage. Her calculated mind started to kick in as she thought about how Karara didn't seem fazed or worried about Issei. The reaction of Volley's team didn't seem worried either, as if they had experienced some of the true power that Haidu has gained in the last few months. Besides the girls who obviously love him very deeply and are very concerned for him right now, most of them gave reasonable responses to what just happened. It was then she saw her sister looking at her with a knowing look. She then spoke up, grabbing everyone's attention. Sona. It seems that Volley's team has some sort of understanding of Issei's true power to an extent. Judging by how we are still feeling the shockwaves of their fight, Haidu is keeping pace with the Dragon God for right now, at least. But I believe we need to get control of the situation. Most likely the people of the underworld are feeling the battle between them, and we need to reassure them that everything is alright. After all, some very important and damning information was just released about the Devil Council, and not to mention some of the inadequacies of the Devil Kings in action. Speaking of the Devil Council, we need to act fast so they do not try to do anything. I believe we need to mobilize the military, along with having our allies, if they are willing to support this action, to show a unified front. If I had to assume, this was also part of Haidu's plan he was going to discuss with us on how to deal with them, along with immediately getting a hold of all the yokai that are in peerages before the unexpected arrival of office. So, we need to act fast and take control of the situation while we still can. Serafal. I couldn't agree more. I could tell by the look on my adorable little Sotan's face that she came to that conclusion. I have to agree. I do understand that Ice-kun might have had a plan for all of us to be there for the meeting and everything else he had to share with us after the broadcast. But I think we need to change that plan and immediately start taking action, not only on the council front and finding out which members were in on everything that was going on and which ones didn't know and would be willing to cooperate with us. Not to mention, we need to definitely work on getting out all the Nekashu that are currently in any devil peerages and get them ready to go through the evil piece removal procedure Ajuka is working on. I also agree, it seems like Ice-kun is very strong right now and we definitely need to know the full extent of his power, but we can get to that later. I would like to know if the fallen angels, and Norse would be willing to help us in this effort to weed out those who have betrayed the alliance and help the Yokai. Azazel. As I said, the kiddo has my full support and you will also have the full support of the fallen angels because I believe in this alliance. So I'll contact Barakiel immediately and have him gather some forces to help in this endeavor. Michael. There's no question that the angels will help in this. I'll contact Raphael right now and have him gather some forces to assist in the effort. Auden. You'll get my support. I'll have some Valkyries assembled. At the same time, I know somebody who would definitely want to come and visit their granddaughter and meet the Dragon Boy. So this works out for me. Hahaha. I do hope the Dragon Boy manages to live from this encounter with the Dragon God and his mates, but I don't know if he's going to survive the interrogation he will receive from Gondal. But I know the Dragon Boy is tough, so he should survive. Hahaha. Surziches. That is perfectly fine, Lord Auden. Even if it takes a few days for your Valkyries to arrive, we know we can get the support of the fallen angels immediately. It may still take some time for the angels to prepare their forces and mobilize. So, along with our forces and the fallen angels, we should have enough for handling the situation for now, but your forces will be appreciated. Ajuka, my old friend, I hate to do this to you, but you are the one researching and almost done with the evil piece removal procedure. It would only be fair if you were in charge of gathering all those nekashu from the peerages, if you agree to it. And Falbium, we'll put you in charge of everything considering you're the commander for all our forces. We entrust you with all the forces, including how to organize them and carry out the raids on the council members' estates, as well as bringing them in for questioning, as well as punishing those who have committed crimes against the devils and the Alliance. Ajuka. I completely agree. Plus, ever since I was given this task by Issei, I had already decided to get a list of all the peerages that the nekashu are in, so I understand and I have no issue with this. I'll take some of my personal guards to help me with this, but I can handle it. I'll get on it immediately. But could you inform Leisha why I left without saying goodbye? Also, have her go back home and inform her parents so they can set up a date to meet Issei as well. And let her know she has my full permission to begin gathering her things to move in with Issei in Kyoto. Palbium. I understand, and I will organize all the forces for the raids, along with the capture of the council members. I just need to know the exact numbers of forces that will be sent from the angels, fallen angels, and Valkyries, along with the commanders that will be in charge of those forces when they arrive. Also, we need to establish a point of contact for them all to meet up so we can discuss how we are going to break up the forces and formulate a strategy of attack regarding these raids. It's important that I get all this information as soon as possible so I can plan how to proceed and determine which targets are more crucial to hit first. The faster you can provide me with this information, the better, given the current circumstances and the need to prevent the council members from having time to plan a counterattack or retaliatory strike. I understand this is of utmost priority and importance. I'll ensure that it's done and that these traitors suffer. That's my promise as the Devil King Asmodeus. Serziches. Understood. I'll make sure the information, once I know of it from the others, is sent to you immediately, Falbium. Ajuka, I'll inform Leisha of your message. And once things begin to calm down and we can finally have this meeting with Issei, Serafal and I will inform both of you of everything we've learned, along with any plans that we may come up with, and make sure you're both informed before making decisions on anything. Ajuka and Falbium nodded in acknowledgement at what Serziches said as the two teleported away to do the tasks that were entrusted to them. Mugari. Well, it seems like my new lord and dear friend's mate sure knows how to cause a lot of excitement. I am looking forward to getting to know him more. It is also reassuring to know that the devils are willing to make amends for the actions of others among their race. It means a lot. Serafal. Of course, Lady Mugari. It was the council's actions, along with our inactions, that allowed what happened to the Nekomata race. As we said in the broadcast, we meant it not just for show, but we truly intend to make amends. So you have nothing to worry about. And yeah, Ice Kundo seemed to always bring excitement wherever he goes, Mugari. I see. Well, I hate to ask this, but I'm feeling a little overwhelmed. Is there somewhere I could sit or lay down and wait for a while until my lord and daughter return? Serafal. Of course, Lady Mugari. So Tan, would you be so kind as to take Lady Mugari to the same room where our special guests are also waiting? Could you also have your peerage accompany you and stay around her for protection? We don't want anything to happen to her. I'm pretty sure Ice-kun would be very unhappy, along with her daughter Karara, if something happened to her under our watch. Sona. Of course, if you follow me, Lady Mugari, I'll show you to the room. After that, Lady Mugari began to follow Sona along with her peerage to a special room that has two other special guests waiting to surprise Issei. After they left, Serafal asked Serziches a question that was on her mind. Serafal. So have Grafia and Milikus already arrived with them yet? Serziches. Yes, they're in the room waiting. Serafal. Good, Ice-kun is going to be in for a big surprise, Serziches. Yes, I agree, but I believe we should finish what we have to do here, get what we need organized, and then immediately start heading outside to see what's happening with the fight. Serafal. Agreed. Scene change, with Issei fighting office. Issei suddenly felt a bone-chilling shiver go up his spine. Brother, I have a bad feeling that after the end of this fight, I'm probably still going to die even if I win. Greg. Hahaha, that brother is what I call your primal fear of dread. I feel like your mates might not have liked what you did and how you did it without warning them. All I could say is if you let Opus kill you to try to get out of the punishment that awaits you, the girls will revive you somehow and you will experience a whole new reality of pain and suffering, brother. Issei. Yeah, you're. Before Issei could even finish what he was saying, he was sent flying into the ground, causing a massive crater. Issei. Ouch. That hurt. For a lowly, she can pack a punch. Greg. Brother, don't let her appearance deceive you. She's still the second strongest being in the world that you're going up against. Also, you have 4 cracked ribs, small fractures all over your body, and minor internal bleeding. You can't keep this up even in your heavenly king form. You're barely able to properly defend and absorb the blows. After the first 3 hits, she completely crushed through your Sanjutsu barrier, which you used to harden and fortify your body. At this point, you've been just taking critical hit after critical hit, even when blocking. If not for the high durability already given to you in this form, you would have already been dead. I think you might have pissed her off with some of your comments. Hahaha. Issei. Yeah, but I regret nothing. That's when their conversation was interrupted by Office floating above the giant crater that was made by Issei. That's when she spoke. Office. I'm actually impressed you've been able to last this long, though you've taken quite a lot of damage. You have yet to prove to me that you can keep your word, that you can beat me, and it seems like you can no longer continue this fight. So, I will end it here. It is a shame you could have been a great ally to me, but I must kill you now. Goodbye. Opus then charged up a massive ball of black and purple energy and sent it towards Issei. Greg. I hope you're confident in this plan, brother, because if that hits you, it will kill you and most likely take out half of the underworld with you. Issei. Damn, she may not show her emotions on her face, but she's definitely expressing them through her attacks, and now this massive final death ball shows that she's pissed at me. And come on, don't you believe in me? We've gotten out of worse situations. Greg. I believe in a lot of things, mainly that you are the only one who has ever treated me more than just a weapon or a tool. You have seen me as a brother. And that somehow you can make the impossible possible, and I'm waiting for you to do it again. Issei had a smile on his face after hearing what his brother said. Well, I better not let you down. Soon, Office's attack was about to hit him. At the same time, everyone started making their way outside the mansion, and all the girls who made it out first could only scream out in horror. Girls. Issei. Issei. Well, I think it's time for me to humble this dragon god. 7th seal release. After hearing those words, a giant surge of power was felt, enough for everyone to have to put up barriers that were close by, just to not be overwhelmed and feel the burning sensation of the overwhelming power being released from Issei. As Office's attack was making contact with Issei, she spoke in her normal monotone and emotionless tone once again. Office. What foolishness. Even with your boost in power, you cannot defeat me, and you never had a chance of winning in the first place. My power is infinite. That's when she decided that it was time to leave, knowing her attack would kill everyone in the area, including her old team. But there's nothing she could do now, until she heard a voice reverberate from the crater and noticed that it seemed like her attack was being absorbed. That's when she heard a voice yell out. Greg. Absorb, 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 absorb. Office. How is this possible? You're absorbing my attack. Issei, who currently had his right arm extended with his palm flat out as it absorbed the attack as Drake continued to shout out. Greg. Absorb, 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 absorb. After Issei absorbed Office's attack, he was visibly in pain, but still smiled a cocky smile. His arm was pulsing with energy, and his veins seemed to be bulging out from his skin. At the same time, his skin looked like it was cracking, and to the onlookers, it seemed like even parts of his flesh were burning off like ash due to how much energy was flowing into his arm now. Issei. You know, it's an amazing thing. Even with power, you can still be weak in other aspects. It seems like your weakness, despite all your years of life and power that you blatantly claim is infinite, is not enough to excuse you for your blindness to the actions of the group you're in, or the group that I believe is truly running everything behind the scenes. It means nothing because I have learned from a fight not too long ago that you don't know what true power is until you're facing it when you realize. Deep down you know you cannot win this, but you refuse to surrender and believe that your power alone can overcome it. I have faced that kind of power before and was able to overcome it, and I can do the same to overcome your power just like I did to the other. Because unlike in that fight where I was cocky and arrogant and thought I had the power to go up against even the strongest opponents, I was humbled and taught a valuable lesson. But in this fight, I have prepared for this, practiced, undergone hard training, and learned spells for this exact moment. So, it's time for you to learn that lesson as well, Infinite Dragon God. Let's do it, brother. Greg soon began to speak out. You got it, brother. Boost, 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 boost. Issei was just in constant agony as he charged up an attack in his right arm. His screams of pain were audible until the girls who loved him deeply begged him to stop. Bravo. Issei. Please stop this. Aisha. You are obviously in a lot of pain. Your body can't handle this. You need to stop. Hiroka. We beg you. Please stop this. You're going to die if you continue like this. Faye. You're tearing your body apart. You're going to die if you keep this up. Please stop this. We don't want to lose you like this. Ingvald. Enough, all of you, every single one of you, need to shut up and have faith in the man you supposedly love, like I do. I trust him. Now listen to me, my Dragon Knight. I expect to see you come out of this triumphant. Prove to me that you're the same man who barged in and smashed through a facility to rescue me, and who defied all odds and brought down the king of the vampires himself. Do you understand me? Issei smiled upon seeing what his ocean princess said to him, and could see the worry in all the girls' looks as he reassured them and spoke. Don't worry, girls. I'm not going anywhere. Have faith in me and let me show you how I defend and protect everything I hold dear and love. All of them were still very worried and concerned for him, especially the girls who wiped away their tears, looking on and believing in the man they loved. They were concerned for him and didn't want anything bad to happen. They trusted that he knew what he was doing. That's when Drake began to speak up, warning his brother. Drake. Brother, you can't hold this power for much longer, even with the 7th seal unleashed. Issei. Then it's time for me to put this lowly dragon in her place. Drake. Do it, brother. I believe in you. Use the power of my flames with your own. Show this dragon god the power of the Yokai dragon of domination. Issei, you got it, brother. Office, you will feel the power of both me and my brother's powers, along with your own. Soon you will know what true power feels like. In an instant, he vanished from his current position and was soon above her with his right arm completely reared back as he shouted, Infinite Dragon Emperors, blazing purgatory fist. As Office saw Issei coming towards her, she was stunned, feeling the energy coming from the attack, sending a cold-blooded chill through her. Realizing a dragon would be suicidal enough to use such magic, she then felt Issei's fist collide with her, and all the power accumulated in that attack swarmed over her. She was powerless to fight back against it as it slammed into her and sent her into the ground, with the firing inferno still engulfing her, until all the energy Issei acquired was completely depleted. She was sent flying to the other side of the mansion and made a massive crater, even destroying portions of the mansion. As she landed, smoke and dust were kicked up, while Issei began making his way down to the very crater Office found herself in, as his brother began talking to him through the gems on him. Greg. Well done, brother, but you should know that the minor healing you're getting from this form will not repair all the major damage. It's keeping your internal bleeding from becoming worse. As for your arm, it's going to take more than a phoenix tears and some magic healing to fix it. Also, I know you heard the cracking sound. You shattered several parts of your arm with the force and power that were used in that attack. Issei looked at his arm and let out a sigh. I knew that after absorbing all the power from Office's attack, along with combining your purgatory flames and my emerald blazing flames together and fusing them with Dragon Slayer magic, not to mention boosting all the power even further, it was too much even in this form. Even with the 7th seal being released, it still wouldn't be strong enough to withstand all that power surging through my arm. But it's not like I didn't know the consequences of doing this beforehand. I believe she's out for the count now, because I doubt even she can recover quickly from this, regardless of her status as a dragon god. There's no walking away from that attack without taking heavy damage, and no healing factor she might have can undo the amounts of damage I did to her right away. I took the lessons I learned in that fight with Dracula to heart. But I think it's time to bring out Ascalon to send the message, as I think she's getting up. Greg. As long as you know what you have done to yourself, brother, understand the women around you aren't going to like hearing the stupidity you just pulled. I wish you luck with that. Hahaha. But I agree we should send a message. I doubt she's ever had her pride as a dragon destroyed so thoroughly other than the time she fought Great Red and lost. Issei heard what his brother said as he touched down on the ground. He summoned Ascalon and walked up to her, immediately pointing it towards Office, who still hadn't recovered. She was slowly getting up and looked up to see the famous Dragon Slayer pointed at her. For the first time in her life, she had a look of unimaginable surprise and fear on her face. She then looked at his right arm and truly understood what he meant by being able to defeat her. Office. I see now, you were willing to mutilate your own body and cause an immense amount of damage to yourself just to defeat me. Do you realize that even if you're not a full dragon, you severely damaged yourself by using that magic? Essentially, you used forbidden magic meant for dragons, while also being a half-dragon. It's like you just put a curse on yourself by using that magic. So, was it worth it? Issei began to smile, but not in a cocky way this time. He just had his normal smile as he spoke. I knew full well what I was doing by not only absorbing your power from that attack you sent my way, but using it with purgatory flames of my brother and my own emerald flames, along with combining it with Dragon Slayer magic to deliver such a blow to you that you couldn't recover from right away. I knew from the beginning of this fight I could never last in a prolonged fight against you. I had to end it quickly. Luckily, I already learned from a previous fight what happens if I let a fight drag on. As for your other question, if it was worth it, then hell yes, because I will go to whatever extreme I need to, whether it means mutilating an arm or a leg or my whole body, or even sacrificing my life, if it means protecting the ones I love and care for. It's just something an emotionless being such as yourself could never comprehend, not that I don't think you're capable of, but you are too busy focusing on returning to the dimensional gap and killing your fellow dragon god, Great Red, who I doubt has truly done anything to you other than flying around the void. Believe me, I knew the risks, and I would do it again. But there's a reason I limited it to my right arm, because I was willing to lose my right arm, taking a gamble, figuring that the damage you would receive would be too much for even you to recover quickly from, and I knew it would take you out of this fight to the point where you couldn't continue. Now, understand what I'm about to say. If I ever find out you go after anyone I care for, whether it's Volley or anyone in his team or any of my other loved ones, understand there will be no force in this world that will keep me from you and seeking vengeance on you. And I want you to know I will not stop until I destroy your organization and whatever is truly behind everything. Issei brings Ascalon closer to Office, only millimeters from cutting into her, as the tip of the blade had a shine glimmering from it, and she could feel that the sword was eager to spill the blood of a dragon god, as Issei continued, "Now get the hell out of here." After hearing everything Issei said, Office slowly got up, still visibly in pain and heavily damaged from their fight. She nodded to everything Issei said and opened a portal to the dimensional gap. She made her way to it, right before looking back at Issei with another expression he never expected to see on the dragon god known for having an emotionless face, a look of sadness. She then turned back to the portal, walked through, and it immediately shut. As soon as the portal closed, Issei's last bit of strength finally left him. He fell to one of his knees, using Ascalon to prop himself up, returning to his base form from his Heavenly King form. He was breathing heavily as he looked at his mutilated right arm that he couldn't really feel or move at the moment. He started to hear people coming over and heard them calling out his name. Looking up to the side of the crater, he saw all the girls who loved him sliding down towards him. He could hear his brother laughing inside his own head as he realized he might be in some deep trouble, seeing the looks of concern mixed with fury on their faces. He let out a sigh, knowing he's probably about to get an earful and probably more. Ravel, Ingvald, Lefay, Laisha, Kuroka, Issei. They soon all tackled him, pushing him down on the ground. As he lifted his head up, he saw all their eyes looking at him. They all looked like they were ready to cry, with tears building up in their eyes ready to pour out. Issei. Hey now, no need to cry girls, I'm alright. I may be a little hurt and beat up, but I'm alive. I know you have a lot of questions and are most likely upset with me for my reckless and stupid actions, but I can explain if you all would get off me and let me. After hearing that, they all backed off a little, enough for him to sit up. He began to have that stupid smile while rubbing the back of his head, knowing he's in some deep trouble. But before he could even start explaining, Ravel noticed his completely destroyed right arm. She gasped in surprise, drawing all the other girls' attention to it. Ravel. Gasp, Issei, what did you do to yourself? As she reached out to check, she saw his completely mutilated and charred right arm. But as soon as she touched it, Issei yelled out in pain, causing Ravel to retract her hand, while all the girls witnessed the expression of pain on his face. Laisha put her hands over her mouth as tears began to flow from her eyes. Issei, what did you do to yourself? It looks like you completely destroyed your arm. Issei. Well. You see. Ingvald. You did something utterly reckless and stupid and caused very severe and unimaginable damage to yourself again. Didn't you? Issei heard his ocean princess say that, and her tone made him realize he was in trouble. He put his head down, knowing he's about to get it from all of them. That's when Ravel reached into one of her pockets on her dress, pulled out the vial of Phoenix Tears, and immediately repositioned herself right next to Issei, fully intending to help him drink it. Even though he knew he could use his other hand to do it himself, he didn't want to fight against one of his mates who were already upset with him. He let her bring it to his mouth and started pouring it down, as it started restoring some of his lost stamina and strength, and healed all of his external and internal damage from the fight, including all his fractured and broken bones, along with any other internal bleeding that didn't get healed while still in his other form. The only thing that didn't seem affected by the Phoenix Tears was his right arm, but Issei started to cry out in pain. This surprised the other girls, especially Ravel. Issei. Aya. Ravel. What? How is this possible? I've never seen or even heard of damage so severe that not even a Phoenix Tears could heal. Issei, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry. She also began to have tears running down her face after seeing the agony on his face. After a little while, he stopped screaming in pain and gave her a weak smile, trying to reassure his mate that he was alright. That's when Kuroka immediately came over and sat next to his right side while looking at his right arm that was just hanging there. That's when she also called Lefei and Ingvild over to help her use Senjutsu to try and heal his arm, while they used their healing magic to try and heal it as well. Hiroka. Issei, I'm going to need you to lay down. Ravel, can you sit over here so we can rest his head on your lap? Leisha, can you also come over here and sit on the other side? Also, Leisha, can you use gravity magic? Leisha. I can use it, I'm just not that proficient with it. Is there a reason why you're asking? Hiroka. Judging by how his body reacted to the phoenix tears, we're going to need you to restrain him so he doesn't accidentally hurt us if the same thing happens when we use healing magic. I also know that this isn't the ideal area to do this in, but we can't let his right arm stay like this for his own safety and health, so we have to try healing it a little bit as much as possible here if we are able to. Ravel, Lefei, Ingvild and Leisha all understood and nodded in agreement to the plan. Issei. Do I get to have a say in this? Girls. No. Ravel. Did you consult with us before charging in like a reckless idiot attacking the infinite dragon god? No. Well, then we're not going to consider your opinion. At the same time, think of this as your punishment for all the heartache and worry you put us through, you idiot. Lefei. Yes, do you realize how worried we were for you? We didn't think you were even going to come back to us alive. We were terrified for you. Ingvild. I know you're reckless, my dragon knight, but this was too much. You didn't even give us any kind of warning, nor did you tell any of us that you were considering this possibility. You could have at least prepared us so we wouldn't be so worried. You left us out of the loop, and for that, you must suffer. Leisha. Yeah, I have to agree. Even though I'm probably the newest member of your harem, I did not like seeing the man that I felt for the first time, giving me genuine and authentic love, and caring for who I was, not for what I could do for him or for my body. I thought I was going to lose the only person I could even fall in love with. That was very cruel of you to do to me, my dear. Hiroka. Well, it looks like it's settled. Sorry, my dragon fox, even though I found it brave and heroic the way you defended me and the rest of my team. I have to say that was utterly and completely stupid. Consider this your punishment from all of us. We can't guarantee if the other girls might not want to give you their own kind of punishment once we tell them this, but you have to man up and take it like the dragon fox you are. But ladies, are you ready? Girls? Yes. The girls forced Issei to lie down as he continued to beg and plead for them not to do this, only for his pleas of forgiveness and mercy to fall on deaf ears with the girls. Issei. Wait, girls, we can talk about this. You don't need to do this. I'm really sorry. The girls were tired of hearing him try to talk his way out of it. Immediately, Leisha started producing gravity magic to restrain his body as Ravel put his head in her lap and Hiroka, Ingvild, and Lefei began. As soon as they started, Issei began to feel an immense amount of pain. He struggled and wrestled back and forth so much that Leisha started to strain a little to keep him restrained. Hiroka. What the? It's not even working. If anything, it feels like the wound itself is resisting being healed. I've never seen something like this, and it doesn't make sense. Lefei. I don't understand why it's not even starting to look like it's healing either. What kind of injury is this? And it seems like the more we try to heal it, the more it's causing Issei pain. Ingvild. I don't know, but I'm using my own water magic to try to heal him, and I can feel it resisting and even just boiling it away. As Issei's screams of pain were heard by Karara, Vali, Arthur, and Biku, although they no longer felt the presence of the dragon god, they wondered what was causing him to scream in such agonizing pain. They immediately started running towards the crater from which they heard the screams. As soon as they reached the edge and saw what the girls were doing, Karara immediately understood what was happening upon seeing Issei's arm. She started sliding down the crater side as she yelled at the girls to stop what they were doing immediately. Vali, Arthur, and Biku followed right behind her, staying a little bit behind as she ran up to Hiroka, Lefei, and Ingvild. They stopped their healing upon hearing her and Issei stop screaming in pain immediately once they stopped. She pushed them out of the way and knelt down on the ground, hovering her hands over his arm as they glowed blue, trying to use Sanjutsu to figure out what was going on with his arm. But going off her own experiences, she could tell this was some sort of curse that had been inflicted upon his arm. She just didn't know what kind, but she had a feeling this idiot used a spell he learned in the Great Yokai Mystical Library. Karara immediately finished figuring out what was going on with Issei's arm. Her face immediately contorted into an angry, furious scowl. She stood up, picked up Issei with what remained of his torn clothes, and shouted, "What did you do? Do you have any idea of the true consequences of the magic you used? You fucking moron." While all the girls were trying to tell her to calm down and let him go, Vali put his hand on her shoulder, trying to calm her down. She looked over, seeing his face, and her little crush on him made her a little flustered until she shook it off and immediately threw the idiot on the ground as Vali spoke, asking the question that everyone wanted to know. "Vali. Kurara, you said something about a magic he could have learned in the Yokai library and the consequences that come with it. What do you mean? Kurara. What I mean is that this Dumbus went into the library, most likely the forbidden sections, and found magic scrolls relating to Dragon Slayer magic. Let me guess, you found it in the text regarding the Yamata no Orochi. At least you were smart enough, Dumbus, not to use any of the sealing methods that were used to defeat it. That doesn't make you any less of a Dumbus because you used cursed Dragon Slayer techniques that put a curse on anyone who uses it. And knowing this Dumbus, you used it in an even more reckless way and probably made it even more potent. Issei sat back up after being thrown on the ground and only nodded his head, confirming what she thought. This made her even more upset and pissed off at her student. Kuroka. Issei, you didn't. Ravel. I'm confused. I get that what he did was stupid and reckless, but what does that have to do with his arm not being able to be healed? Whether with Sanjutsu, healing magic, or even Phoenix Tears. And what's this about a curse? Kurara. Sigh, it's hard to explain. Let me start from what is pretty much happening. For one, we all know that this idiot uses a Dragon Slayer sword, pointing to it sitting on the ground after being knocked out of Issei's hands by the girls when they tackled him down. As you know, it is very effective and can kill a dragon. It is extremely painful for a dragon to be cut, even just a slight scratch is excruciatingly painful for them. With that said, dragons or dragon hybrids like this Dumbus can still use those items. However, one difference is that there are two types of Dragon Slayers. Those who use weapons and armors with properties of Dragon Slayer magic or spirits, and there are more ways for other objects to gain Dragon Slayer properties. But that's the simplified explanation. Those who use the second method are Dragon Slayers who use the magic itself in different forms, which vary depending on the type of magic the individual's affinity is and what kind of fighting style they prefer. To simplify it again, they are Dragon Slayer mages who directly wield Dragon Slayer magic. The problem with the second one is that dragons cannot use Dragon Slayer magic because it's deadly for them. Even just having the magic course through them can start tearing them apart. The only reason he's not dead yet is that he's not a full-blooded dragon. Currently, the reason the curse isn't spreading rapidly is because of his Kitsune side, along with something else that I cannot determine, but it's holding back the curse from spreading any further. But I have a feeling you made it a lot worse for yourself. Who knows how long before it can no longer prevent it from spreading further into your body. So, are you going to tell us, Dumbus, or do I have to beat it out of you like I did during our training sessions? Kurara then began cracking her knuckles. This made Issei completely and utterly nervous and filled with fear, more so than he had been while facing Dracula's office. Seeing all the death glares from his mates looking at him, he especially knew he really messed up, seeing how pissed off he made his master. He knew all too well of her anger from all the time they've trained together and knew this was not going to be a good time. That's when his brother decided to stop him from suffering alone and manifested the boosted gear on his left arm as he spoke through it. Greg. Kurara, I know my brother is an idiot for what he did. Regarding your question about what he did to himself, he pretty much developed a new technique using aspects he gained from absorbing some of my rival's power, along with different aspects of my own. More specifically, he took parts of Divine Dividing Gear's power and the boosted gear's transfer abilities and combined them to create a new ability called Absorb. The power that Divine Dividing gives by taking half of the power of whatever it's dividing was adapted to my transferability. So, instead of it being half, all the power they're taking in would be used for its wielder. When Office launched a powerful attack towards him, he absorbed it and merged it with my own Purgatory Flames and his own Emerald Blazing Flames, complementing them with the Dragon Slayer magic he learned and boosted them to the point he was ready to unleash all that energy on Office. It's evident that it works, but these are the results. I would say that he didn't know the consequences, but he was fully aware of what he was doing. Kurara let out a sigh as she pinched the bridge of her nose, frustrated and annoyed after hearing what she just heard. Kurara. You reckless dumb bastard. It's really hard, and I mean really hard, to believe at times that you are actually the new lord of the Yokai. Sometimes you can come up with the most brilliant, well thought out, and meticulous plans, and other times I personally believe that you don't have a brain in your head. And that empty space where your brain should be is filled with nothing but hot air. I seriously don't know what Yusaka sees in you, but personally, if I didn't have first-hand experience of hearing you two going at it that one night, I would have no reason to think why she would want to keep you around. Issei. Damn, that's a little harsh. Who the fuck shit in your Cheerios this morning? Kurara. I don't know, but if I had a mirror, I could show you. Personally, it was most likely one of my dumbest students who literally took a spell from the forbidden section and didn't think that there could be massive side effects. While everyone just watched in amazement as they had their verbal battle, the wings of the vanishing dragon balance breaker appeared from Volley's back and Albion started to speak, grabbing everyone's attention and bringing the conversation back on track when he addressed his rival, Drake. Albion. Drake, your partner is utterly reckless and too headstrong, even for a dragon. You should have tried to talk him out of doing such a reckless and foolish action. It was stupid of him to use such a method. Not only trying to merge our abilities is risky, but when he first took mine, it was almost life-threatening. I can imagine how risky and even more dangerous the task of trying to merge two different abilities of ours together like that is. Adding on, taking in the power of the infinite dragon god. The worst part was him using dragon slayer magic to try and kill a fellow dragon, that itself is an affront to dragons. Drake. I will not argue that my brother is quite headstrong and stubborn. Once he sets his mind on something, you cannot change it. I also know he did it for a good reason, and that was to protect the ones he loves. Let's not act like dragons are any better, because if they could have harnessed that power, they would have, to end all the evil dragons quicker. You know that is true. One thing I will say is that I understand what he did was risky, and yes, the chance of it actually succeeding was almost impossible, but I realized that my brother has a tendency to make the impossible possible. After hearing what Drake said, all of the girls who had yelled at Issei for his reckless actions felt a pain in their hearts. They realized he didn't do it just to prove something, he did it because he knew he wanted to protect the ones he loves. They all looked at his arm, and it made them feel bad for yelling at him after realizing the true depths he was willing to go for them. They understood that if it meant giving his own life to protect all of them, he would do it without hesitation. This made them all have the same thoughts in their heads that he truly loves all of them. They were brought out of their thoughts and back to the conversation that was happening when they heard Albion speak again. Albion. I see, I cannot argue with you on that considering I saw him already make the impossible possible just by absorbing my own power, but I am still surprised. I am more surprised by the fact that there's any text left of that accursed magic. Volley. What do you mean by that, Albion? Albion. Well, Volley, there was a war long ago that brought in other pantheons and other groups, including the dragons themselves, to fight against the evil dragons in a conflict known as the Evil Dragon Wars. Regarding your question, a certain group took part in the Evil Dragon Wars, the Dragon Slayers, though they just killed any dragon, regardless of any side or affiliation. I remember they did have a tendency to target the evil dragons, but it led to them being targeted by the evil dragons in return, who then wiped out all mage guilds that practiced dragon slayer magic to extinction and destroyed every manuscript, spell, or anything that had the knowledge of said magic. They tried to do it with the items as well, but it was not as successful. Issei, do you truly realize how foolish you are? Dragons cannot use dragon slayer magic, it's a taboo. The pain from just trying to harness that magic is excruciating. It was tried on several occasions and always ended horribly. If you were a full-blooded dragon just trying to practice and learn that magic, it would have killed you. I believe the only reason it did not was because of exactly what Lady Carrara spoke of. You being only half and being a kitsune. Before the continuous scolding of Issei's reckless and stupid actions continued, Arthur decided to ask the question that needed to be asked before anything else happened. Arthur. I do agree that what he did was utterly reckless. We cannot overlook what Drake said because if not for him doing what he did, Office would have taken us back with her. So, regardless of how we all feel, he did what needed to be done, and it would be blind for me to ignore the fact that if not for him, my sister and I would be serving a terrorist organization again. So, he does deserve respect for his righteous and heroic actions. But what we really need to be asking now, instead of having this pointless argument that's not going to undo anything that's already been done or give us a solution to the problem we're dealing with now, is regarding figuring out how to undo the curse so his arm may actually be healed. Carrara heard what Arthur had to say and agreed with him. Sigh, I'll give you that. You're right, although he's still a dumbass for doing it, but I can interrogate him later about his whole process of coming up with this moronic idea and plan. Not to mention why he didn't talk to anyone else about it. Though I have a feeling he went to his other teacher who helped train and prepare him for this, that damn monkey son Wukong. She glared at him, which caused him to turn his head and start to whistle, confirming what she thought. She closed her eyes and opened them again, looking at everyone as she continued. The problem now is that we know not only did he use Dragon Slayer magic, but particularly a cursed variant. Not to mention the way he took in the dragon god's power along with his own, mixing them and then boosting it to absurd levels, probably enhancing the curse and making it even worse. There are only a few individuals who might know how to deal with this curse, especially now that it has most likely been increased and will take a lot to undo it. Finding those individuals who might have the knowledge to undo it is even fewer and far between, but they are out there. Individuals who might be able to help would be the Shinto gods, though I doubt they will be willing to help right now. Another one would be Asaka, and considering she's with the Shinto gods right now, we can't really ask her. So our last choice would be my mother. Luckily, she's here with us, she probably just stayed behind in the mansion while all the excitement was happening. So if you want any answers, we have to go ask her. I think we should take the Dumbus and head back. Everyone agreed with Kurara, and they all began to head out of the crater. As the girls helped Issei off the ground, they tried to keep him from walking on his own, but he had enough of his strength and stamina restored and healed up from the phoenix tears to walk on his own, though a little bit unsteady, but enough to do it by himself, even though the girls were protesting against it. Issei. I'm alright, girls. I promise I have enough energy now, thanks to the phoenix tears. I can at least walk. As he was talking, he walked over, picked up Ascalon, and brought it back into the boosted gear. At the same time, the boosted gear dematerialized as Drake mentally spoke to him. Drake, mentally. Brother, just be careful. Even though you think you knew the full consequences, I don't know what's happening to you or your body, so don't push yourself. Also, I should let you know that it seems like your emerald fire has been building up within you. I can't really explain it, but I can tell you that it's keeping the curse from spreading any further from your arm into the rest of your body. Like I said, I don't know what it is, but I wouldn't question it as of right now because it's helping fend off the curse. Just wanted to let you know, if you need anything, you know I'm here for you, brother. Issei, mentally. Interesting. I'll keep that in mind. If it's actually keeping the curse from spreading any further into me, it's nothing to be concerned with as of yet. Just let me know if anything changes. Thanks, brother. It's nice to know that I always have you by my side. Drake, mentally. Of course, but stop making these girls worry so much about you because you have too many people in this world who care deeply about you. So stop putting yourself in these reckless situations that could get you killed or even worse because you have a lot of people depending on you. Don't forget you have a child on the way. Remember that. Make sure your unborn child and your daughter grow up with a father in their life because both your unborn child and that little fox girl depend on you. Understand? Issei, mentally. I understand what you're saying, brother. I'll keep that in mind. I want to be in their lives just as much as I want to be in all my mates' lives and have a family with all of them. I'll be there for them all my life, so I'll try not to be as reckless and put my life in these dangerous situations as much as I possibly can. Drake. That's all I can ask for, brother. After. Issei and Drake finished their mental conversation with each other as everyone was making their way out of the crater. As they were coming out, they could see the rest of the leaders heading over to them after taking care of what they needed to. Along with them was the Phoenix family as well, along with multiple guards. All of the other leaders and the members of the Phoenix family were already amazed to hear that Issei defeated Office. Then Kurara stepped in and told the leaders the rest of everything that's going on, including the consequences and how he was even able to defeat Office, causing those leaders to look at him with complete amazement, horror, and worry. After calming the leaders down and explaining that there was still a way to undo the curse, they explained what they were doing while that was happening. Ajuka and Falbium went to organize forces to do raids on the council members' estates with different forces from the members of the alliance. Ajuka had already made a list of all the peerages that had Nekashu and gathered his own forces to help collect them, as well as finish and make sure the process of removing the evil pieces was ready to be performed with no side effects to the Nekashu. That's when Surziches looked at Laisha, informing her of what her uncle told him to inform her about. Surziches. Laisha, your uncle wanted me to inform you that you need to go see your parents, inform them of the marriage contract you had him make with Issei for you, and set up a date to meet him. He also said you have his full blessing to gather your things to move in with Issei in Kyoto. Laisha felt a wave of anxiety and nervousness overcome her as she began stuttering her words. Oh my, yes, I need to go talk to my parents and set up a meeting between Issei and them to begin planning for the wedding. And of course, I need to move my things in. But Issei, don't I need permission before I can just come into Kyoto? Issei, upon seeing this, immediately spoke to calm her down, which worked. It's okay, everything will work out, I promise. There's no need to freak out, just take it slow. He then looked over and asked Ingvald, would you be so kind as to not only accompany Laisha to ease her stress and anxiety, but it would also be helpful for her to have some help packing her things and be there for emotional support while she talks to her parents. Also, you have the freedom to come and go in and out of Kyoto, and you are allowed to bring visitors with you. So you could also bring her along with you once she is finished talking to her parents and packing her things. You can go to Kyoto without any issues and help her settle down into the castle, unpack in her new room, show her around, and if you wouldn't mind, my ocean princess. Ingvald. Of course, I would be more than willing to help, but my dragon knight, I will be expecting something in return. I mean, after what you just pulled, I'm so worried to leave you alone. How can I trust that you won't do something more reckless that could cause me to lose the love of my life? she said in a very dramatic and over-the-top way, even putting the back of her hand on her forehead and leaning her head back. How can you promise me, my dragon knight, that you will be back home when I arrive with her? Issei, seeing his beautiful ocean princess being overdramatic but understanding the weight behind her words, even if she was being playful, decided to walk up and whisper in her ear. This caused her to immediately turn bright red, and even her legs were shaking at whatever he was telling her. He backed away and looked at her. She looked directly into his eyes and realized he was serious. Without hesitation, she agreed to what he told her, knowing she was going to get something special tonight that she had been wanting. Ingvald. Well, when you promise me things like that, how can I deny my amazing dragon knight? I look forward to it. I would be more than happy to go with Leisha, help her with whatever she needs, make sure she has a safe passage, and ensure the guards do not go after her when she arrives. I will also ensure she has everything she needs set up in her room. I promise you that, my love. Ingvald gave Issei a kiss on the cheek. Then she walked to Leisha to see if she was ready to go. Leisha raised an eyebrow at what she could have possibly been told by Issei. However, she immediately put that thought at the back of her mind, realizing she had other things to worry about. As they were about to teleport away to head to the Astroth territory to talk to her parents, Kuroka asked if she could accompany them. She began to explain the reason behind her request. Kuroka, I would like to be a part of helping Ajuka with getting all the remaining Nekashu out of the devil peerages, acting as your representative of the new lord of the Yokai. Will you allow me to do this, my dragon fox? Upon hearing this, Leisha, Ingvald, and Kuroka, I looked towards Issei to see what he has to say and if he would allow it. Issei looked directly into Kuroka's eyes and understood she had another reason for wanting to do this, but didn't want to say it, and he understood and respected it. Issei. Kuroka, my beautiful black cat. I understand, and I know the reasoning behind this. You don't even have to say it for me to understand, just looking into those eyes of yours, I know. So I have no problem with you being my representative and the bridge for those Nekashu. I have a feeling this would help Ajuka expedite the process of getting their pieces removed and them being more comfortable with you around. So, I have no problem if Leisha doesn't mind making a quick stop at Ajuka's laboratory to drop you off there. Leisha. I see no reason why we can't make a quick stop, especially if it's to help my uncle with what you entrusted him to do regarding the Nekashu. So, I see no reason, especially since if she's with the forces that are helping my uncle retrieve them, it might make them a little more relaxed, having a fellow Nekashu with them. I doubt any of the peerages would object, not only with my uncle there, but having her there would also be another deterrent, her being so powerful. Plus, we are sisters, right, Kuroka? So we need to look out for each other, right? Kuroka, on the verge of tears, wiped them away with her kimono as she understood the meaning behind Leisha's words. She then looked towards Issei, ran up to him, and kissed him passionately for a few seconds before breaking it off, whispering in his ear, making him blush like he did to Ingvald. She then ran over to where the other girls were, ready to leave. Issei recomposed himself after hearing what his black cat told him. He waved and wished them good luck with what they had to do, giving them one final message before they left. Behave yourself, girls. And Kuroka, just go slow with her, okay? Kuroka understood what he meant by that as she nodded and gave him a playful wink, while Ingvald blew a kiss to him, and Leisha gave a heartwarming smile as she formed a teleportation circle underneath all three. Soon, they were engulfed in a green light and disappeared. After they left, Issei soon turned his head to the side and saw Vali and his team ready to leave. This made him curious as it caused his eyebrow to raise. Issei. What's up? Vali walked up to him as he spoke, well, still have to go and pack up our own things from our private hideout, along with bringing Fenrir with us. Remember, after the meeting we were supposed to do that, but after everything that just happened, I guess that's not going to happen right now, and you can just fill us in. I've never been one for sitting around listening to boring talk unless there's a fight about to happen, and I doubt there's going to be any more fighting happening today. Plus, it's pretty hard to top a fight between one of the two dragon gods, don't you think? Issei. Well, you're not wrong, but I think I could go for the rest of the day without a fight. I might be a little worn out as you can see my completely intact and not at all disfigured and mutilated arm, haha. Vali. Haha, it's nice to see that your sense of humor is intact. But don't think I'm going to let this slide. I can't let my rival get this far ahead of me in power and not begin to close the gap between us. Plus, you've already given me and my team permission to leave and enter Kyoto at will. So this is the perfect opportunity to go finish packing up our belongings and bring Fenrir so we can start moving into the castle. Issei. Yeah, you're right. I was wondering where Fenrir was. I figured he wasn't needed for the mission to rescue Magari. But yeah, I've already cleared your team, along with Fenrir's approval, to come into Kyoto. Just make sure he's housebroken because if he starts breaking things at the castle, Yusaka is going to be pissed and take it out on me. If that becomes the case, I'll have to deal with it and I will make it your problem. Do we understand? He said with a smug smile as he reached his left hand out for a fist bump. Bali gave him a similar smug smile in return, raising his hand as he returned the fist bump. I expect nothing less from my rival, he said. He then walked back to his group. Without even feeling or sensing that she was approaching, she pounced on him before he could even say or do anything. Kurara immediately came at him, throwing herself on his chest as she wanted to tell him something. Kurara. I can't wait to see you again tonight. I'll make sure to give you a personal tour of the castle and show you to your room, my little white dragon. She then whispered something in his ear, loud enough that Issei could still hear what she said. Remember, I like a challenge, and if you can put up a fight, it just makes me want you more. Look forward to experiencing more of you for myself tonight, my white dragon. After saying that, she walked over to Issei. But before she made it all the way back, she slightly turned her head and gave him a cheeky wink as she continued to swing her hips back and forth in front of him, with her tail swinging as well. Bali had a flustered face upon hearing what she said, and he had to admit to himself, he loved watching her walk away with those hips swaying back and forth. He soon recomposed himself. As he looked over at Issei and noticed he had an evil smile on his face, it was clear he knew what that meant and had heard exactly what she said. Issei's smile made a shiver go up his spine again. Bali. Cough. Well, is everyone ready to go? His team nodded, showing that they're ready. However, he did notice that Lefay seemed to be covering her face with her hat and both of her hands were shaking while gripping her staff. He looked over to Arthur to see if he noticed it and he saw how she was doing. As soon as he was about to ask if she was alright, he wasn't even able to get a word out before she lifted her head up, now showing her completely flustered and red face. She ran up and jumped on Issei, gave him a passionate kiss. Issei was surprised at first, but embraced and reciprocated the kiss as he wrapped his hands around her. It lasted for a few seconds, and he showed her the exact passion that she was showing him. After about 30 seconds, she broke it off, and they looked deeply into each other's eyes. That's when she realized what she was doing and immediately turned bright red and broke from his grip, then ran back to her team, preparing to teleport them back to their old hideout. After that happened, Volley had his normal cocky smile with his eyes closed. Biku had the biggest shit-eating grin, while Arthur was surprised and drew his sword, ready to attack Issei. Before he could, they were teleported away. Everyone that was watching this wasn't too surprised after the comment Issei made about her earlier in the room and how it made Lefay blush. They were just surprised at how bold she was being right now, but they kind of figured she was holding it back for this long and she couldn't do it any longer. Issei knew she had feelings, and though this wasn't technically a confession, it still took a lot of confidence just to do that, even if it was spontaneous. He knew that she reciprocated the same feelings he had for her and hoped they could build something stronger. At the same time, Ravel saw all of this and let out a sigh, knowing she would have to share him even more, but she understood his heart was big enough to do so. Then she started to walk up to him, grabbed hold of his left arm, looked up at him with her beautiful eyes and a heart-warming smile. Issei felt her on his arm, and when he looked over and saw the beautiful sapphire eyes of his phoenix, it made him smile. Issei. Well, at least you're not leaving me to handle everything by myself, my beautiful phoenix. But that's when all of a sudden, Riser felt the paper he kept in his pocket just in case they decided to respond to his letter. He pulled it out and saw it was also lit on fire, signifying that they had agreed to what he offered them. Both Lord and Lady Phoenix saw it and nodded at him, knowing what they had to do now. So, before Ravel could say anything in return after what Issei said, her mother and father chimed in before she could. Lord Phoenix. Actually, I hate to do this to you, my son, but we have to take Ravel to continue planning and preparing for the wedding and everything that comes with it. Ravel immediately interjected, one for not being told of this earlier, and for the main fact that she didn't want to leave Issei's side, especially not after the fight he just had in the condition he's in. Ravel. Why was I not told about any of this beforehand, mother and father? I don't really feel comfortable leaving my dragon at this time, especially when he's going through whatever is happening with his arm. I promised I would stay by him and support him no matter what, and I intend to do that especially right now with the condition of his arm and the lingering threat of this curse becoming worse that he's inflicted with right now. Lady Phoenix. Ravel, my sweet daughter, I know how you feel and you're very concerned about him. I love that about you, it really shows how much you care about him. But as Lady Carrara said, it's currently under control, and there's a good chance that they'll be able to undo the curse and heal his arm. He's in safe hands, my dear. He will be fine without you for a few hours because we still have a lot of things to get done regarding setting up everything for the wedding and many other things that we need your input for, my dear daughter. Ravel immediately grabbed Issei's arm tightly as she screamed and acted like a child having a tantrum. No, 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 I won't. Every time I let Issei out of my sight, he does something reckless or stupid that could end his life, and I could lose him forever this time. So I won't, and you can't make me." After hearing what Ravel said, Issei's eyes went wide, now realizing that he wasn't the only one suffering from trauma. He caused trauma to a woman that he loves and cares for. As he looked onto the faces of Lord and Lady Phoenix, both Ruvel and Riser, he finally understood the true extent of trauma he caused and what they've been dealing with for the last 8 months while he was gone. Because of his actions, he traumatized Ravel, making her feel as if she doesn't have a tight enough grip on him. She's afraid that he will leave her again, as he did in the orc room when he pushed her away and then did that horrible act in front of her. He then looked down and saw her crying as she was gripping his arm tightly. Now, he had the full understanding of the true damage he did to a woman he loves. He took a deep breath before deciding to speak to fix this problem he caused. Issei. Lord and Lady Phoenix, as well as Ruvel and Riser, I see that I must apologize once more to all of you. I now understand the extent of the trauma I have caused your daughter and sister. I am sorry for thinking I was the only one suffering from trauma. Because on that day, I caused trauma to a woman I loved and pushed her away when all she wanted was to help me. By pushing her away that day, I made her feel that if she ever let go of me, I would be lost to her forever and she would never get another chance to see me again. I can't express how sorry I am for that. Ravel, as Issei addressed her, looked up at him with red puffy eyes and tears in those beautiful sapphire eyes he loves to see, but not like this. He started to move his heavily damaged right arm, even if it was causing him intense pain, and wiped away her tears. She could see that he was fighting through the pain, but had a smile on his face just for her as he spoke. "My sweet beautiful Phoenix, I'm so sorry for everything I've done and the trauma I've caused you. You never have to worry. I will always return to your side. I understand that on that day, I pushed you away, but today I realize the trauma I caused you. But you never have to worry. I will always return to your side. I understand that on that day, I pushed you away, but that would never happen again. You must trust me. I love you too much to do that, as does your family. I promise you I will always be here and you will never have to fear losing me. Ravel. You know. Sob. I was so hurt that day. I know you've done so much to try to make it up and show me you love me, but I'm still scared. I feel like if I don't have a connection with you at all times, I'm going to lose you again. I don't know how to get over it, but I just can't leave your side. I don't know what to do. Sniff. Issei heard what she said and knew of a way to finally give her what she was wanting and to always make her feel like he was next to her at all times, even if he wasn't. He then leaned over and started whispering in her ear. As he spoke in her ear, thinking only she could hear what he was telling her, unfortunately someone else could hear what he told her. As he was telling everything to Ravel, her face became redder and redder, and she grabbed his arm even tighter as he lifted up after finishing whispering in her ear. She could only ask in a very shaky and nervous tone. Ravel. Do you mean that, Issei? Issei. Yes, of course, my love. After he acknowledged and confirmed that he was going to do what he told her, she immediately let go of him. She walked over to her mother and father. As he saw her walking over, he noticed that Lady Phoenix was covering her mouth and looking a little flustered at him from the side, with her face turned, which made Issei even more flustered after realizing his mother-in-law just heard what he told her daughter. He began turning red. That's when Ravel began speaking to them. Ravel. Mother, father, and Riser, I'm ready to leave when you are. Lord Phoenix, along with Riser and Ruvel, was surprised at the quick change that their younger sister and child underwent after whatever Issei whispered in her ear. They were going to ask what he said, but Lady Phoenix interrupted. Lady Phoenix put one of her hands on the side of her cheek. It was still flushed red from hearing what she did as she spoke to the other 3 men of the family. I think it's time for us to go. As you can see, the young man that I'm happy to call my son-in-law obviously was able to tell our daughter something that made her feel secure and okay enough to leave him here. Isn't that right, son-in-law? She winked at him. This made the other 3 men a little bit more curious and wanting to know, but they could see the look on their mother and wife's face. They realized this was no longer up for discussion and just shrugged their shoulders and stood by each other, ready to teleport together. She began to speak one more time to her eldest son. Lady Phoenix. Ruvel, we don't need you for this meeting. I'll just need you to stay behind as a representative of the family to help clean up the area from the fight. When everything is settled down, you can go back along with the guards to the mansion in the Phoenix territory. Ruvel. Of course, mother. I will take care of everything. After that, Riser started to form a teleportation circle underneath the 4 of them. Issei noticed his beautiful Phoenix keeping her head down, so he couldn't see her red face, but he knew it was still that bright hot red he remembered as she walked away. Soon they were enveloped in a golden light, and they were gone as well. That's when Ruvel walked up to Issei and put his hand on his shoulder. He spoke to his brother-in-law. Ruvel. I don't know what you said to my sister, but that was the first time I've ever seen her go from argumentative and stubborn to agreeing to whatever we ask her to do in the longest time. I would really like to know what you said to her, but at the same time, as a brother, I don't think that's something I even want to know or need to know, so all I'm going to say is thank you and know that I appreciate your apology. I think I speak for the whole family when I say we already accepted it the first time. As long as you keep her happy and show her love, you will have no issues from us. After that, he patted Issei's shoulder as he began walking towards the Phoenix guards and started giving them orders to fix the ground along with the Leviathan guards. After all that happened, Issei finally took a big deep breath, trying to wrap his head around everything that just happened and how his perfect plan went so off course in a matter of a few seconds. He was in his thoughts until he was brought out of them when he felt an arm being put around him and heard a familiar voice speak. Azazel. Well, kiddo, it seems like you are a true womanizer now, and you even lost that blind ignorance to women's feelings towards you. I can see that you have become a real man. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, while I'm around you, I've noticed you've been carrying yourself with a new kind of confidence. Did my student lose his V card? Azazel began to fake cry and pull out a handkerchief out of nowhere as he rubbed his tears away and proclaimed, I'm so proud of you. No longer just a child with a dream of becoming a harem king, because you have truly become the harem king you always wanted to be. So tell me, who was it? Oh man, it had to have been Yusaka who took it. I bet that was an amazing night for you. I bet she rocked your world. Come on, you have to tell your sensei everything and don't leave out any details. Issei had an angry and pissed off look at what Azazel was saying. Then a blinding red light could be seen and Issei turned back into his heavenly king form. Issei reared back his leg, sent a devastating kick to Azazel's balls, causing him to fall to his knees immediately and tumble over while groaning in pain, coughing, and gasping for air as he arrived on the ground, holding his now crushed balls. Issei looked at him in irritation, then closed his eyes, took a deep breath, exhaled, and returned to his base form and spoke. Issei. I'm sorry about that, everyone, for what I just did. As the leader of a faction, I know I shouldn't have let my anger get the best of me. I understand that attacking another leader could cause issues. There is no reasonable excuse for attacking the governor, but I have to be honest, I couldn't tolerate him speaking about my beautiful mate Yusaka that way. It might have been my dragon or fox instincts that compelled me to protect my mates, or it could have been my own male response to hearing disrespectful comments about my woman. I genuinely love and care for Yusaka as I do for all the women in my life, and I just couldn't ignore those comments without taking action. I understand if other leaders want to scold me or hand down punishments for my actions, but I will not apologize for defending my mates. I will not tolerate any form of disrespect towards them. All of the leaders were silent until, unexpectedly, Michael started laughing, causing everyone to look at him. Michael? Ha 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 ha. Oh my, Issei, you have nothing to be sorry for. Though I don't condone violence if I can help it, honestly, you have nothing to feel bad for. My brother should have known better than to even say something like that. My dear boy, you did only what any man in your position would have done. Sirziches. Hahaha, I must agree. Honestly, you showed more restraint than I would have expected from you. You have nothing to apologize for. To be honest, I would have done the same if he made comments like that about my dear and beloved Grafia. Auden. Yes, Dragon Boy, you did only what any man should have done. When another man tries to become too intrusive and ask disrespectful questions like that, it makes me glad that you gave me fair warning earlier to refrain from making those sort of comments. But it looks like you didn't give the same luxury to Azazel, hahaha. That's when Serafo ran up to him, grabbing his left hand with both of hers, bringing it up to her chest, as she spoke in her cheerful and loving tone that she's known for. Ice-kun, honestly. You shouldn't feel like you need to be punished by us fellow leaders because you acted like a good husband should by defending Yusaka in the way you did after hearing how Azazel was talking and asking about your personal life. Even if we judged you based on your actions now, then we would have to do the same for him because what he said was not becoming of a leader, especially as the governor of the fallen angels, in any aspect. So, you have nothing to worry, Ice-kun. She's very lucky to have a man like you who's willing to defend her even when she's not here, just like you would do for the other girls you love. They're truly blessed to have found a man with such a big and loving heart, such as you. But it makes me wonder, do you not find me as attractive as you do those other girls? I mean, you used to become really flustered and nervous when I was around you before, but now I don't even see you looking at me that way anymore. Am I not good enough for you now, Ice-kun? Issei. Well, you see Serafo. That's when Issei saw her face, noticed her eyes filling up with tears, and she began to cry. His eyes went wide upon seeing this, and he was completely unable to finish what he was about to say upon seeing her like this. Then he heard her speak in a very sad and hurt tone. Serafo. Sniff. Well, you don't find me as beautiful and attractive as those other girls. Is it because I have a childlike body and act so childishly? And here I thought you would be the man who could accept me for who I am. Serafal let go of his hand and put her hands on her face as she began to cry. Issei. What? No. Issei was now panicking. He never wanted to make Serafal cry or treat her the way he used to, because he wanted to show her more respect for the title she held as a devil king. He never wanted her to feel like he only looked at her for her body and not for the wonderful person she is. He loved her childlike attitude and her great body. In his eyes, he immediately used his one good arm to grab her and brought her close to his chest as he spoke. Issei. Stop it, Sera-chan. The only reason I haven't acted the way I used to towards you is because I was trying to show you the respect your title deserved and not to make you feel like I didn't value you for who you are and only saw you for your body. I adore your personality and childlike attitude. It brightens my day when I'm able to see you and interact with you. You're always a joy to be around and you have an amazing body that any man would kill to have. I just never thought you were interested in me like that. For that, I'm sorry, but I never wanted to see you cry like this. Serafal. Sniff. Is that true? Even when I wear my magical girl outfit, you're not embarrassed to be seen with me? Issei. You look so adorable in your magical outfit. I love seeing you in it. And I would never feel embarrassed being around you no matter how you looked. Serafal. Well, if that's the case, I want to be a part of your life. I mean, be one of the women who have the privilege of being able to say they have a piece of your heart. I just don't want you to give it to me. I want us to go on a date and for you to make your decision afterwards if I'm worthy enough to be with you. She then grabs his hand with both of hers again, brings them closer, but this time makes sure his hand is right between her soft and voluptuous breasts. She sees how he is flustered, turning red, as she has a smile on her face, knowing he enjoys what she is doing. Issei was trying not to look at the exact place Serafal had put his hand when she grabbed it, which was right between her boobs. He could feel how soft they were even with her clothes on. He tried looking the other way as he spoke with flushed cheeks. Of course, if that is what you want, we can do that, Sera-chan. We can figure out a day when we can go on a date and I'll make sure it's the best you've ever been on. When Serafal heard that he agreed to go on the date with her, she was so excited that she jumped around like a child, immediately began hugging him tightly, and looked at him lovingly. Serafal. Oh, really, Ice-kun, you promised to make it the best date ever for me. Well, I look forward to holding you to that promise. Haha. While that was happening, Karara was watching from a distance everything that was happening. She had a wicked grin on her face, knowing her student might have inherited her temperament when it came to comments that she really didn't like. However, she also saw a part of her student that made her grin turn into a soft smile. She saw her student, whom she helped train from a weak and broken boy to a man who now stood tall and proud, acting like the leader he could always be, and the man she could be proud to call her lord because he earned and deserved the title. But that's when she noticed one of the Devil Kings was looking at her student with loving eyes. She kind of realized she didn't need to be here, knowing he was in good hands and would be heading to the same place she would be, considering she sensed two people that had a similar presence as her student. However, putting that thought aside, she began heading inside to go be with her mother and describe the situation about how her Dumba student managed to curse himself. She internally chuckled at that thought, putting her hands behind her head as she made her way inside, and nobody even noticed that she wasn't there anymore, especially with all the commotion going on with what Issei just did to the governor of the fallen angels. That's when Surziches walked over to the two of them and decided to interrupt their moment to remind Issei that they still needed to have their meeting. Surziches. Ahem, I hate to break this moment up, but we still have to have this meeting to discuss everything, Issei. So if you're ready, we can start heading back inside to the room we have set up for it. Issei. No, of course, things kind of went off course from what I originally planned with the unexpected visit from office, but yeah, we should probably head back. But, should we help Azazel? That's when Michael assured Issei. I'll handle it, Issei. Don't worry, he'll be there for the meeting. Issei. If you say so. Again, I'm very sorry, Michael. I know he's still your brother even if he's a fallen angel, and I do care for him as a second father. But sometimes he can say something that just pisses me off. But if you've got this, I just need somebody to show me where this room is. Michael. I understand, and believe me, he knows you care for him deeply, and he'll most likely understand that what he said crossed a line. But I'm sure Serafal would be happy to show you where the meeting would be taking place. Serafal, thinking this was some more time she could get alone with Issei and at the same time be the person that shows the surprise to him, did not hesitate to jump on the chance as she grabbed him by his good arm and began pulling him as she spoke. Come on, Ice-kun. I'll show you to the room we're having the meeting in, and at the same time, we can start planning a day for a date. That's when she started pulling Issei away before you could say anything else. She was so excited after hearing she was going to have her date with him. Issei, realizing she's just being Sarah-chan, decided to go along with her, and they spoke to each other on their way back inside the mansion. Auden walked up to Michael and Surziches and asked a question. Well, it seems like she definitely hooked him. Did you know she was going to do that, Surziches? Surziches? I would like to say no, but I knew she's been having feelings for him since he returned. It's something she's talked to me about over the last few days. She was going to wait for the right time to express her feelings, but I think seeing all the other girls around him, especially how Issei kissed him the way she did, made her feel like she's losing somehow and decided to not wait. Michael? Yeah, but I will say the show she put on definitely ensnared that young man into her trap. But I do dread it when my sister Gabriel eventually meets him. I have a feeling his natural caring and loving nature, along with his will that will never be broken and tenacity to never give up, are easily going to win her over. I dread that day, not that I feel like he's not good enough for her, but she does somewhat have a spoiled side, though she doesn't notice it, considering our father always doted on her. But that's hopefully something I can deal with later. Auden. That does seem like a predicament for you to deal with. But I think we should deal with the whining and groaning governor before us so we can get him back on his feet. Then we can go have this meeting and see the surprise all of you have for the dragon boy. Surziches. Agreed. Michael. Yes, I agree as well. Hopefully, my foolish brother won't be making the same mistake with that young man again. But let's get him healed up so we can go have our meeting and, at the same time, see what kind of surprise you have waiting for Issei. Scene change, outside the main living room doors of the Leviathan mansion. Issei. Serafal, why are you pulling me so hard? We'll get there when we get there. And you do realize I'm still a little sore from my fight, even if this isn't the arm that's completely destroyed. Serafal. Oh, I'm just excited to see how you're going to react to the big surprise we have for you. Also, it looks like the last of the group has finally caught up. Well, Issei, are you ready for the surprise we have for you? Issei. I mean, I feel like I've had enough surprises for one day, but it seems like I'm not getting a choice in this. So, as long as I don't have to fight another dragon god, I think I can handle it. Haha. Serafal. Oh, it's nothing like that, but I'm pretty sure you're going to be more than a little surprised, and I don't know if you're ready for it. But I believe you need this, and I promise you're not fighting anyone, I can assure you of that. Issei. Okay. If you say so. After they finished their conversation, Surziches, Auden, Michael, and a very noticeable limping and visibly in pain Azazel were all standing by each other. That's when Serafal began to push on both sides of the door, opening it up to the main living room, as the light from the room began to spread into the hallway, and the surprise that they had for Issei was something he would have never expected to see. As he walked into the room, he saw two people he knew all too well standing up from the couch. He spoke in a very soft and shaky tone, almost in disbelief that what he's seeing in front of him is real. Issei. Mom. Dad. Mickey put her hands over her mouth as tears began to flow from her eyes. Well, his father Goro looked at him in disbelief, seeing how much his son had changed. But he knew that was his boy, and tears even began to come from his eyes as well. They soon both ran up to him and hugged him tightly. Mickey. Sob. Oh, my baby boy, you are alive. I thought they were playing a cruel joke on us when they said you were still alive. We were waiting here to see you, but here you are, my baby's alive and back in his mother's arms. Sob. Goro. We thought we had lost you forever, and we thought we would never see you again. But here you are, you have changed so much. But no matter how much you change, we know our son when we see him. We're just glad to see you, my boy, alive and well, back in the arms of your loving parents who missed you very much. Sniff. It was then Issei broke down. No longer stood the man who just fought one of the strongest beings in the world and won. Instead, now stood a boy who was embracing his parents, as if he had just woken up from a nightmare. He sobbed, Mommy, Daddy, I thought I would never see you again. I thought you would never want to see me again. I thought you were ashamed of me because of how much of a pervert I was and how I used to always embarrass you. I thought you'd be happy I was gone. As Issei was overwhelmed by what was happening, the rest of the leaders walked into the room, including Azazel, who was rubbing his still hurting crotch. Milikas and Graphia stood up from the couch and headed towards their father and husband, hugging each other as they watched a touching scene unfold in front of them. They watched a family reunite with one another after so long. Where Jerry and Carrara were touched to see their lord and student reunite with his parents as well. Even Sona and her peerage were having a hard time holding back tears, considering Issei is such a close friend and member of their own family at this point that they couldn't help it. Even Sona was caught wiping away a tear from underneath her glasses by her sister. Nikki held him even tighter after hearing her boy say that. She backed off the hug a little bit and spoke. I have never wanted that. I was never ashamed of you. Yeah, you might have embarrassed us at times, but we wouldn't stop loving you for that. We always saw you as our son who had a big heart and was so very kind. Your father and I have always loved you for everything you are. We were devastated and heartbroken when they told us what happened to you. I fainted, and your father immediately kicked out all the girls. I cried for days, and your father had to console me non-stop. Issei. But I always thought you were ashamed of me because every time we went to see your side of the family, once Grandpa Jiro and Grandma Am passed away, your family always told me how I was the stain and failure of the family, and the best thing I could do for you guys was disappear. Boru. No, son, we never felt like that. We discovered how much your mom's family truly hated and disdained you. Partly, that is my own fault, son. Your mom's family never approved of me marrying their daughter, but luckily your mom didn't care and still loved me just as much as I loved her. We got together, but ever since then, they've hated anything that came out of our marriage, including you. I'm sorry you had to feel like that. Before we were told you were still alive, we had a ceremonial funeral for you, even though we never found your body at the time. When your mother's family came around, they brought divorce papers hoping that she would do the right thing now and divorce me, knowing that the abomination holding her to me was gone. That day, we truly understood the depths of their hatred they had for me, and unfortunately for you, my boy, I never wanted you to feel like that. I love you, son. Your mother and I both do, despite what anyone told you from her side of the family. You were a gift from the heavens. We thought we could never have kids, but when we found out Mickey got pregnant again and made it past 6 months all the way to delivery with a healthy baby boy, we realized you were the miracle child we've always wanted. We've loved you ever since, and nothing you could have done would have ever changed that. Mickey. Your father is right, baby. I was so happy to know I was able to have a child, especially after so many miscarriages. I was ready to give up, just like your father. But you became our little miracle. After giving birth to you, the doctors told me I could never have kids again due to complications during labor. But I was okay with that because I finally got my little gift from the heavens. I knew my parents would never have accepted you, no matter how happy I was from having you. My parents and family would never change their minds on that. But at the time, I didn't care because we had your father's parents who celebrated your birth with us and always cherished every moment they had with you, my baby boy. Boru. Your mom is right, my boy. You are truly our little miracle, not only to us but to my own parents as well. We remember the deep bond you had with both your grandparents. When Grandpa Jiro passed away, you were heartbroken. It was even worse when Grandma Am passed away when you were 12 because you were so devastated. You loved both my mother and father, and they loved you so much. They cherished every moment we visited them with you. They always appreciated how you brightened their day. They would tell us repeatedly that you were the gift they always loved to receive during our visits to see them. They always knew you would do great things and expressed it to us all the time. Issei was crying like a child now in his parents' arms, only getting out a few words between sobs at a time. The proud and strong man that once stood before everyone not too long ago on a broadcast was now just a sniveling child in his parents' arms. Mom. Dad. I'm so sorry. Sob. Mickey. It's okay, my baby. You can tell us about it later, but understand I love you, and I'm just glad to have you back in my arms, my baby boy. Boru. Yes, whatever has happened, we can get past it. I'm just glad to have my son back and to look forward to better times ahead with my family whole again. All three of them hugged each other tightly, but that's when Mickey and Goru noticed they only felt one of Issei's arms around them. Immediately, Mickey looked over to her son's right arm and let out a panic scream, noticing their son's arm. This drew the attention of Goru, who also looked and screamed in horror at what happened to his son's arm. So many questions ran through both of their heads. Most importantly, they wanted to know if their boy was going to be okay. They both reached out to him with both of their arms to hold his hand. Unknown to them, they started a chain of events that would make the situation even more confusing and lead to even more questions. When both of their hands touched their sons, a green symbol on each one of their hands started to glow. The ones on Mickey and Goru became really bright and eventually became blinding. Then a powerful unknown force pushed them to the floor, causing everyone to run up to them with concern for their well-being. They immediately looked up and heard their son screaming in pain as they tried to run up to see what was wrong, but were immediately stopped by Michael, who grabbed Goru, and by Grafia, who grabbed Mickey, holding them back from getting caught up in whatever was happening. Issei began screaming in pain and agony, and that's when Karara tried to help her student. Similarly, Serafal also tried to help the man she has been developing deep feelings for. But as soon as they got close to Issei, they were both immediately thrown against the wall with force, cracking it upon impact. Karara's mother, Magari, ran up to her daughter to see if she's alright, while Sona and Serziches went to check on Serafal. Everyone was amazed at the force that was strong enough to push back even Seraphil. They could feel a barrier forming around the fires consuming Issei, causing anyone who came near to either be seriously hurt, blown away, or both. There was nothing the leaders could do at the moment. They could only watch in horror and hear the screams of Issei and the panicking cries of Mickey and Goro. "Mickey, let go of me, my baby needs me. He's in pain. I know you can hear his cries as well. He needs his mommy. Please, as a mother, you must understand. Let me go. Please." Goro was in the same position, but trying to elbow and fight to break free from the Archangel Michael's grip. "Let go of me, bastard, my son needs help. Let go, don't stop me. I need to help my boy. Let me go." Rias was having a hard time fighting back her own emotions as she held Mickey back, a fellow mother who only wanted to go to her son in his time of need. "I'm sorry, but if I let you go anywhere near him right now, you could be killed. I can't let that happen. I'm so sorry, Mickey." Michael understood Goro just wanted to go to his son as well and help him, but knew the same thing Rias knew after seeing what happened to both Seraphil and Karara being thrown so violently backwards while trying to approach him. "I'm sorry, Mr. Haidu, but I can't for your own safety. I'm so sorry." Brag, mentally. "Brother, what's happening? Brother, please say something." Soon, the green emerald flames that started from the middle of his chest began to engulf him and spread throughout his body. Everyone who saw how quickly the flames consumed most of Issei's body before he was almost completely consumed reached out with his right arm. What little remained of his face, still showing, was not yet consumed by the flames, a small portion of his face with one of his eyes still not completely consumed. The flames were closing in as everyone could see a single tear escape his eye until his face was completely consumed by the flames. Eventually, the last part of his body, which was his mutilated right arm that reached out to his mom and dad, was also being consumed by the flames until it reached his hand and completely devoured what was left of his body. All that was left was a raging fire in the place where Issei was standing. That's when the heartbreaking screams of Mickey and Goro could be heard. Mickey, Goro. With tears in their eyes, both screamed and cried out at the top of their lungs, "Issei." Soon, both Rias and Michael let go of Mickey and Goro. Mickey fell to her knees, seeing the green fire that consumed her son. She watched the fires roar in front of her as more tears began to build up in her eyes and flow from them. She kept crying. Goro was in no better position, but he was still trying to comfort his wife. They were both on their knees, crying, looking at the fire that once was their son. "Mickey. Issei, no. I just got my baby back and he's taken from me. What cruel god did I offend? What did I do to deserve this?" Sob. As she yelled out in agony and sorrow, "Take me, damn it. You can have me, but give my boy back." Sobbing madly. Goro looked at the very powerful beings in the room that surrounded him. He stood up and began yelling at them. "What about any of you? All of you were supposed to be strong and powerful individuals, yet only 2 of you even tried to save my son. You told us how much all of you care about him, but apparently they were meaningless words from you all because none of you tried to save him. You just stood there and watched, preventing me and my wife from helping our son. Instead, you held us back and made us watch our son be burned to death in front of our eyes. Is this your sick version of humor? Giving us hope and taking it away from us?" After he finished, he then got back on his knees to comfort his wife as he began sobbing madly as well alongside him. After hearing what Goro said, all the leaders looked down in shame. Rias was comforting her son, Milikus, who was watching his hero burn in front of him. Sona's peerage was crying, including Saji, who was letting tears escape his eyes while trying to be strong for everyone. Sona went to hug her own sister and comfort her because they both needed it, especially Seraphil, who was crying, knowing now she wasn't even able to see where her feelings were going to lead and how far they would develop with the man she was falling for. That's when a weak and out-of-breath voice spoke up. "Karara." Breathing heavily. "He's not dead. My student is many things, but I've never known him to give up without a fight so easily, nor would he die so relatively easily in front of the people he loves. So he's alive. I can sense his life force building within the flames. He's alive, and when he comes out of there, he will have the chains holding back the last of his power broken, and he will be even stronger. He will be able to finally reach his full potential, I can guarantee you that." Nikki lifted her hands from her face as she looked and could only say one thing. "What?" Sniff. Goro was ready to yell at her, tired of the supernatural beings giving his family false hope and it only being crushed in front of their eyes. Having just watched their son being burnt to death. Before he could say anything, they felt the room getting hotter as everyone looked at the flames starting to recede from other parts of Issei's body. Soon, the flames receded enough to see his full body as the flames retreated to his right arm, at the same time removing the curse as the flames traveled all down his arm and eventually focused on his hand, completely healing his arm and dispelling the curse. When it reached his hand, a magical symbol came up on the back of his hand and shined brightly in the room. The fire that was now focused on his right hand shot out in a pillar of green fire. A majestic serpentine-like dragon started to appear from the fire, and the massive dragon filled the room with its body, encircling everyone in the room as it caused damage to the walls and the ceiling due to its eyes. As it looked down at everyone in the room, causing amazement and fear at the dragon before them. But that's when the dragon saw Mickey and Goro run up to their son to check if he was alive. To their joy, he was. They got him up on his knees, held him tight, and soon the ethereal emerald fire dragon turned back into fire and shot down towards them right in front of the three. Soon, it turned into a giant ball of fire and faded away, taking on a new shape of a very beautiful and voluptuous woman with green hair wearing a green dress, who was now kneeling in front of them. Uri. Hello, Lord Goro and Lady Mickey. It has been some time since we last saw each other. It is such an honor to be once again in the presence of you all, especially you, my new young master. I am proud to say it is a great honor to meet the new head clan master, who will be responsible for the rebirth of the Haidu clan in this era. I have been looking forward to this day for such a long time. I'm here to serve you, my master, and look forward to the glory you will bring and the restoration of our great clan. Everyone. What? That's it guys. Thanks for watching and supporting us. See you in the next part.